Hi, glad to have you back in the shop. I'm working on a little project, a repair of a piece of furniture that my father made maybe 50 years ago, I don't recall. He found this copper pot somewhere, and the only reason I'm being vague about that is that I, as long as I've been alive, which is 65 years, I remember this existing. So he may have made this for my mother maybe when I was just a child. I know that he did it on a lathe, and a very large lathe, so I'm assuming that I was probably an infant and didn't get to see this. But I'm going to show you the piece and some things about it. I think it's a really interesting piece and a beautiful piece to have grown up with. But the construction of it was probably had some flaws, and over the years it broke, and I repaired it once for my mother, and then my brother inherited it and it broke again, and so I'm repairing it now for the second time, and hopefully that'll last its lifetime. But anyway, let me show you a little bit about it. So here's the copper pot, and it's perfect for this because it has this lip on it. So I'm sure my father, in studying this, designed the planter itself for this thickness so that it would sit over the edge of it. And the piece itself, with these curved legs, as you can see, they're tapered out. He turned this on a lathe in this direction, with the legs on the right side flying around, because he needed to get this contour even coming across here. And I recall my mother talking about it, how afraid she was for him that he was spinning this on a lathe in this direction and getting that contour. But as I say, I was a child when that happened, so I can't attest to visually seeing any of it. Now, let's talk about the construction of it. It's interesting because the leg goes all the way up through it and is visible. So the grain direction comes here, and then these pieces go around it. And it's open through here on the bottom. But I think that he had made the piece in sections, and then it wound up being a little tighter than the pot itself was needed to fit in there. And so he wound up carving away certain parts inside here to make it fit better. And so that caused some issues with it, because as you can see, the construction of it is that here's the leg coming up, and then there is a piece that goes through here to connect these, and this is on the back side of the leg over here. And then when you come around here, it's more centrally located, the spline joint going through here as well. Now, I've put linseed oil on all of this, so this shininess that you're seeing is the linseed oil, because he never did a finish on the inside of this, so that was dry and the outside was finished. And you really want all surfaces around to avoid expansion and contraction. But you can see where he carved away portions of this, and that wound up leaving the spline joint almost exposed here and here. Now, the ones that don't have the legs, those are more centrally located and a bit stronger, but there was some other breakage on it, and I'm not going to replace it, but you can see here where a piece that went across here is totally gone. Now, I could carve this out and put a piece there, but this stayed structurally good, so I don't want to break it apart just to fix it if it's not broken. So anyway, that's the construction of this, and you can see how that would have been mounted on the lathe and then turned. So what I've done now is to repair. It broke into 3 pieces, and so I put in glued 3 together, and then I used the strap clamp that you can see in these pictures to pull it together evenly. Now I'm involved in doing the refinishing of the outside to hide any of these issues where they weren't quite it didn't quite close up tight enough, or one was a little higher than the other. So I've had to resand and take some of that down here. Now what I need to do is to do the same thing all the way around it, so that when I put the new finish on it, it will be even. So what I'm doing here with a fairly fine sandpaper is I'm just going up to this edge, and I'm just trying to take off some of the actual finish. This was never stained. It was just mahogany, but over the years, some 50 years, the mahogany is darkened. I don't want to go across this because the grain of the mahogany here is going this way, and I'll cross the grain and scratch it, and those scratches will show. So I'm just going up to this area, and I'm just working the outer finish into a powder. You can see it comes off fairly easily, and it's a little bit yellowed, so that is also affecting the finish. So I want to get that off so I can then go ahead and even up whatever coloring I need to do. And I'm not going to take out all the little dings and stuff that are there, because that's part of its age. I'm just getting that top coating of shellac off of it so that it opens it up and I can access the wood to effectively get the color blended well. So I'm just working my way around the piece, and I can go across these joints because there's no leg there going across, so I want that as smooth as possible. So for that, I'm just going right across and going with the grain of the wood around this round part, and keeping my thumb on the leg over here so that I know when to stop and I don't just keep going around. Dusting it off and seeing there's some darker areas in here and some lighter ones. It's interesting. I don't really know what causes that over the years. Maybe water dripping on it or something. And here I put my hand right across the leg so I can go right up against my thumb and not go onto that grain. And move my thumb down as I come to that portion again, just to give me a little more control over it. And then I'll take some mineral spirits, wipe this down, and see how that area looks. So the reason I use the mineral spirits is it evaporates fast, and it won't affect the end finish. So there you see where I've cleaned it off. It really, the color is so vibrant. Here I have not sanded, so I'm feeling pretty good that I don't need to add any color to that. But the grain is really popping through. I believe this is some Cuban mahogany that my father bought in the 40s because I inherited some of the pieces from it. But I like the coloring so far. So I'll continue and go all around. Now, I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's some real gashes or something. I don't know. There's these black lines. Maybe where it was in a moving van or something and something hit it. I'm not going to take that out. I'm just... I really don't want it to change the character of the piece. I just wanted to have a good finish on it. I am not trying to make it into something that came out of a store, because it never did. And our family used this every day. My mother had her plants in it, and so all I want to do is to make it so that it doesn't look too scarred up. May have to do a little build up in here because there's a little niche there. And coming across, I can see how where the sawdust builds up in there, that means that they're not quite even. One is thicker than the other. And so I'll give that a little bit more of a sanding to try to get the two to come a little bit more together. But that's it. I'm not gonna reshape the piece. One of the promises my mother had me make before she died was that I don't correct everything of my father's. I just repair them to the standard that he had left them. Don't try to finish his work. There was a statue that he carved of a mother and child, and when I received that, I was given the message not to complete it, just to appreciate it for his work. And I do that a lot. So, okay, that's gotten quite a bit off of that. And boy, that mahogany, the color just comes up and is just absolutely beautiful. So I'll continue around and I'll get back to you. Just going over it to find any kind of little blemishes that shouldn't be there anymore, and just cleaning those up a little bit, wiping them down with the mineral spirits. You know, if there's a little piece of paint or something, I'm getting that off. But like I say, I'm not trying to get this to be flawless. I'm just trying to knock off some of the damage that's been done to it from different moves and things like that. And no reason to leave little paint flecks, because as long as I'm going to be spraying a new finish on it, I might as well get those out of the way now as I'm going along, because those don't improve the look of it. For this stuff down here, I'm switching away from the block and just going to use a piece of sandpaper in my hand, and this is 180. I'll go back over it with a more fine sandpaper, but I really just want to get this old finish opened up some. I don't know if you can see how easily that how easily it powders up and leaves you with a nice smooth surface. So I'm not applying any real pressure. I don't want to do that. I don't want to take away any of the wood, and you can see the color come back instantly. That's the nice thing about working with pieces of furniture that were never stained. They're just the color of the wood, and it's really nice to see that jump back. And that mineral spirits allows me to see what is just some old sawdust or some old finish, and not something that really needs to be taken off terribly well. So I'm going to continue taking down all the way around here, and then I'll get back to you. I put the bowl in the top of it. You can see how that works. It just sits in there, and I think that the sanding, and I did have to use a little chisel because there were some old finish runs in it, so I had to chip those off a little bit and clean that up. But I think that that's looking pretty good, and I think that tomorrow, I've wiped everything down with the mineral spirits and gotten rid of the dust, and tomorrow I'll do a little spray finish on it, and I think we'll be set. So here it is, a little cleaned up. Tried to get some of the issues with copper out, but it's standing fine on its own, nice and tight, and I think that it came out well. So here it is in the living room. I think it looks pretty good. It's nice and solid, and I took some of the issues with the copper out, and I think that looks nice. Not perfect, but right for the age. And here's the fella who made it, my father. Hey, I was just putting away some of the rags and things from this project, cleaning up the shop. And just wanted to thank you guys for watching and talk a little bit about the project. I didn't start videotaping it early when I brought in the pieces. I didn't take any photographs of it, but like I said, it was in 3 different pieces and it had to go back together. The first job after fitting it to make sure that it did go back together was to make sure that I got off all the old glue, and that's the biggest tip on this one that I can give you, because we didn't do a lot of carving or anything like that. We just had to clean all those joints of the old glue so that when we re-glued it, it would come together with that, using that strap clamp to keep it circular. But if you try to glue 2 pieces, if you have a broken chair at home, it comes apart and you notice that somebody's already glued it once before, or even just that the old glue joint came apart, you have to get off the old glue and expose the raw wood, because glue will not adhere well to glue. So when you're re-gluing a joint of any kind, you want to get all the glue out, all the dirt that's sat in there, clean it out, fit it together, make sure it fits okay, put in fresh glue, wood to wood, not glue to wood, or glue to glue. Always expose the old wood as best you can and make sure it fits well together and that you clamp it good and tight. At any rate, I think it's going to be a nice heirloom piece to keep, and I'm sure if my father was aware that I was fixing it again, I think he'd be happy to know that it's going to have another life. So I'm happy with it. I hope that you guys will like the video and subscribe. I don't usually ask for that because I don't monetize my videos, but it's still nice to see the numbers go up. So until we see you again, I'd like you all to stay safe and take care of yourselves, and thanks again for coming to the shop.